Hello and welcome to Witness. I'm Raghi Omar. The history of Africa is written in song and dance, a story told through oral tradition with none of the written history that keeps Europe's past alive. At least that's what's commonly thought. But it's simply not true. And now a written history is being brought slowly to light in the unlikeliest of places, Timbuktu. Timbuktu is one of the most famous cities in Africa. Everyone has heard of it, yet few know where it is or why it is famous. Standing where the Sahara meets the Niger River, it reached its peak of scholarship in the 15th and 16th centuries, but fell into decline until the name Timbuktu became a byword for nowhere in particular. During the colonial period, Europeans sacked many of Timbuktu's libraries, destroying much of Africa's written heritage. But many ancient manuscripts survived, hidden in boxes under floors and in desert caves. Timbuktu Scribes is a film about a new project, bringing them to light. With support from Libya and South Africa, Timbuktu is now witnessing a renaissance as work begins to copy, restore and interpret its ancient manuscripts, many of them decrepit and barely decipherable.
Timbuktu, the fabled city of the Sahara Desert, is home to one of the world's hidden treasures. Ancient manuscripts that provide a key to unlocking the secrets of Africa's past. 45-year-old Abdul Qadir al-Haidara is guardian of this city's ancient heritage. Half a millennium ago, Timbuktu was the intellectual center of Western Africa, its libraries and universities renowned throughout the Islamic world. The pages of its crumbling books refute claims that Africa has no written tradition.
Our primary goal is conserving this national treasure so that it's not lost forever.
For 2 decades, Abdul Qadir toiled to recover hundreds of thousands of African texts dating back 1,000 years and long scattered in hiding places deep inside the Sahara Desert. Most are in danger of disintegrating. Today he joins his town in welcoming an honored patron.
My father, may his soul rest in peace, was a teacher and a judge who ran both a religious and a secular school. He would sometimes ask me to fetch him a book down from the shelf, and he would always say, "Handle it with care." At the time, I knew that these books were special, but I didn't understand just how precious they were.
Ahmed Ben Bella, the former Algerian president and hero of its anti-colonial struggle, has traveled thousands of miles to inaugurate the founding of a new library in the midst of the Sahara. $2 million was given by Libya for this library. The drive to rescue thousands of disintegrating manuscripts has attracted financial aid from Arab, African, and Western nations.
In 2002, the Prime Minister of South Africa came to Timbuktu and visited the Ahmed Baba Institute. He viewed our most important manuscripts and was extremely impressed. He said, "All of these are African manuscripts? Written by Africans? Owned by Africans? This is amazing." But he did lament their pitiful state.
The Haidara family has produced scholars for 400 years, passing its library down through 11 generations. Abdul Qadir's father passed his passion for books to his son, who spent years traveling the region by foot and camel, by jeep and canoe, recovering lost texts. Before the re-emergence of the Timbuktu manuscripts, Western scholars believed that sub-Saharan Africa had no written history. Africa was stereotyped as a continent of song and dance. The survival of these massive libraries has shaken the world of African studies. Scholars are staggered by the sheer quantity, scope, and rarity of the documents. The manuscripts record commercial transactions, examine the ethics of the slave trade, and explore the importance of the environment and women's rights. Although there were a dozen scholastic centers in Timbuktu when the French arrived in 1868, the city had been in decline for several centuries. Timbuktu's wealth had evaporated along with its trade routes, but the disappearance of the manuscripts had little to do with that decline.
When the colonizers occupied our towns and cities, they clashed with our educated classes. They stole some of our manuscripts and took them away to Europe. These manuscripts were lost to us. Soon after, many of the scribes and manuscript owners began hiding them. Many trunks were buried in the sand. Entrances to family libraries were sealed with mud bricks, while others were sent to hideouts deep in the desert for safekeeping. Thus the manuscripts disappeared for a long time. My family's manuscripts were also hidden.
Founded where the Sahara Desert meets the Niger River, Timbuktu flourished for 600 years. The city was an eclectic mixture of Africans and Arabs who found a common denominator in Islam and trade. Scholars were drawn to its universities, while merchants bartered for textile, gold, salt, and slaves. The mix produced a city of legendary wealth and power. While many of the manuscripts were written at the universities of Timbuktu, others were carried here by Muslims fleeing Spanish persecution in Andalusia. Mali is Africa's 7th largest country and home to ethnic groups who speak more than 100 different languages. Known during the colonial period as the French Sudan, the country derives its contemporary name from the 16th century Mali Empire. Divided into distinct regions, the country's north is home to Timbuktu and dominated by the vast Sahara Desert. The agrarian south, where most inhabitants live, features the Niger and Senegal rivers.
Before the colonization of Mali, our written language and alphabet was Arabic.
هذه المخطوطات كلها بالحرف العربي مع أن فيها مخطوطات مكتوبة باللغات الإفريقية.
Among the African languages found in the manuscripts are Swahili, Fulani, Tamashek, Hausa, Songhai, Bambara, and Solankia.
واللغة السونغاي واللغة البمبارية واللغة السونينكية.
In contrast with its rich history, Mali today is the 5th poorest country in the world, where most people die before reaching the age of 50. United Nations support for the manuscripts began in 1964. Donations from Arab states followed in the 1970s. but it was reports by American academics that triggered widespread interest in the late 1990s. And by 2000, American aid had begun arriving. Here, Timbuktu's military governor and local notables celebrate the opening of an internationally sponsored internet center at the Ben Asyuti Library. Abdurrahman Ben Asyuti is a descendant of a 16th century Timbuktu scholar. Along with Abdul Qadir al-Haidara, he and others established Savama, a network of manuscript collections. The group is at the heart of Timbuktu's effort to showcase Africa's intellectual history.
Vous savez que le monde évolue.
The world is evolving. Science develops from one year to the next, and it's necessary that we also evolve.
Il faut évoluer aussi avec le temps.
Technology has made unbelievable leaps, and soon anyone who cannot use a computer will be considered illiterate.
Un ordinateur, on peut le considérer comme un analphabète.
The internet will help both with research and with communicating with libraries around the world.
Bibliothèque qui se trouve à travers le monde.
Asyuti inherited 4,000 manuscripts from his Iraqi ancestors, who came here 500 years ago.
Entre le 16e et le 17e siècle,
During the 16th and 17th century, Timbuktu enjoyed a golden age of learning and culture.
c'est ainsi que il y avait la prestigieuse université de Sankore.
We had the prestigious world-renowned University of Sanko, which everyone has heard about. At the time, it had 25,000 registered students studying math, theology, astronomy, and medicine.
L'astronomie, la médecine.
After the break, how the painstaking work of dedicated men like Fida Ag Muhammad is helping to recover Africa's written past.